90 days for some equipment and 1 year for other equipment. Brinks says, quote, "The protective equipment is furnished to you on an as-is basis, and the entire risk as to quality and performance of the protective equipment is with you." Question number 5, how long is your equipment warranty? There's 2 more things to watch out for when it comes to the equipment in your system. Some companies get nervous you might be unhappy with their service and want to cancel the monitoring. So they do things with the equipment and the monitoring contract to make it really hard for you to ever cancel. They want to lock you into doing business with them so it's impossible for you to ever go to another company for service or monitoring no matter what. There's 2 ways they do this with the equipment. One way is they retain ownership of the equipment they install in your home or of some vital component, like the microprocessor. Here's what I mean. My wife used to go to a doctor in Fairfax named Alan. Alan got a security system from a company that advertises $99 systems. One day I asked him if it would be okay to see his agreement. His agreement showed he'd paid them way more than $99. But the agreement also said this, quote, "System to remain property of ADT." Think about what that means. Even though he paid him several $100s, this was really an installation fee because he doesn't own anything. Now, if he's perfectly happy with their service, and he may be, no problem. But hey, we're grown-ups. Who's really in the driver's seat here? If he's got a problem and finds them non-responsive, can he call another company to come over and fix it? No. That equipment is not his property. After his 3 or 5 years of contracted service are finished, can he then call another company to begin monitoring that system for him? No. If he terminates his service, they could come back to pick up their equipment. Let me refer again to some of these companies' contracts. Again, contracts can change any time, but these are the most recent ones that I have. Guardian says, "You will own the system except for the control transmitting device, which the company will always own." This makes it seem as if you still own the system, but there's some minor part they own. Guess what? Your system won't work without that part. And since it's usually soldered into the motherboard, I wonder if they'll be stopping by to pick up your main panel if you cancel their service. Sloman says, "Slomans shall always retain title to the PROM. This is a memory chip that may be soldered into the motherboard. Same deal." Vector says, "You will own the system except for the transmitting device, which we will always own." But they go even further. Their contract says, if they take over servicing a system that you already have, one that you already bought from another company, guess what? They own that transmitting device too. To quote, "After the takeover, we will always own the digital transmitting device." Wow. Brinks says, quote, "Brinks is the owner of the standard protective equipment at all times." It's really best if you own the system in its entirety. In that way, you're in the driver's seat. It puts the security company in the position where they have to earn your business year in and year out by doing a good job for you. Isn't that the way it should be? Question number 7, will I own the whole system and everything in it, or do you continue to own part of it? If you were in the business of promoting $99 systems or free security systems, do you really think you're going to be shopping for high-quality equipment to install? Come on. First of all, these ads for $99 systems or free systems can sometimes be setups for a bait-and-switch routine. You know, they get to your house and say, "Sure, we have a $99 system, but we also have this really nice system. Would you like to see that one too?" The nice one might be $2,500 or more. But if you say, "No, I want the $99 system," they might come back and say, "Okay, our $99 system covers 2 doors. You have 5 doors and 14 windows, so we'll need to add some equipment. By the way, you did want fire protection, didn't you? Your total comes to just $1,299. Now, I don't know how you feel, but that kind of approach really irritates me. For that local dealer, the security system is just an obstacle in their way. What they're really after is that $1,000 check they're going to get when they turn around and sell your monitoring contract to their corporate headquarters tomorrow. They're happy to just write up a 2-door, 1-motion sensor system for $99 so they can get onto the next deal and another $1,000 check for another monitoring contract. They might tell you the 2-door system is really all you need. Please don't fall for that one. When a smart burglar sees a sign for a mass marketing company in your front yard, don't you think he knows your windows probably don't have sensors on them? Where do you think he's going to break in? Don't kid yourself. With a $99 system, you're going to get exactly what you paid for. The standard design, the basic system they recommend, should always include a sensor for every window and every door that you can get to without a ladder. So question number 6 is, does your standard system provide sensors for all my doors and windows that can be reached without a ladder? The other thing to watch out for is the use of proprietary equipment. This means they went to the manufacturer and said, hey guys, we want you to change this one little thing on all the systems you make for us. That way no other company can ever service, get parts for, or monitor that system. Once again, who's in the driver's seat? They are. You're at their mercy. Even though you may own that system, you'll always have to go back to that company to get parts, service, or monitoring. Your freedom of choice is gone. Let me give you an example how a proprietary system can turn into a real nightmare. We got a call several years ago from a lady in the Cables Mill neighborhood of Centerville. She said she needed service for her system, so I went to see her. By all appearances, she had a system made by Interactive Technologies, or ITI, which I could work on in my sleep. She told me the sensor at her kitchen door wasn't working. As I was checking the system, nothing was responding to my test equipment. I called tech support. The person at tech support asked me, does it say Rollins anywhere? I said, yeah, it says Rollins on the keypad. He told me, that's a proprietary system. It was made just for Rollins. It operates at a different frequency from our systems. ITI equipment operates at 319.5 megahertz, but the systems they made for Rollins, at Rollins' request, operated at 317 megahertz. The problem was, Rollins was no longer in business, so ITI had stopped production of the Rollins product line. There were no replacement parts available. This was bad. It really was a nice system. She'd probably paid $3,500 to $4,500 for it, and it was only a few years old. Now it was obsolete. No parts available. I had to tell her that she either had to accept the fact that her kitchen door could no longer be protected by her security system, or she'd have to trash the whole system and start over. She was not happy. So make sure the equipment they're going to install is not proprietary. Make sure it's manufacturer stock product. That way your freedom of choice is intact. You won't be held hostage by one company forever. If you decide to stay with them, it'll be because you want to, not because you have to. Question number 8. Is any part of your system proprietary? If I want to change companies and get somebody else to service it and monitor it for me, will there be any problem? Before I leave this area of equipment, I want to make a point about quality. Most folks tell us that protecting their property is a serious concern, but their main concern is this. They don't want a bad guy coming in their home when a family member's there. If somebody breaks in your home when a family member's there, according to the FBI, there's a 40% likelihood somebody's going to get hurt. Those aren't good odds. And that's what we're really trying to prevent here. Most material things can be replaced, but there's no insurance check in the world that's going to make you feel better about a family member that's in the hospital after being surprised by a violent criminal in your home. How should you think of a home security system? It's the only appliance in your home you'll be looking to 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to watch after the safety and security of your loved ones when it comes to a fire or break-in. What other appliance in your home is more important than that? If you go out and buy a toaster that burns all your bread, you just take it back and get another one. No big deal. But with the security system, you don't get a second chance. The consequences could be permanent. All I'm saying is, before you decide how much you're going to spend, think about what you're protecting. There's over 100 manufacturers in this industry, all the way from really cheap to high-end commercial. Take a simple switch. I can call one vendor and he tells me his switch is $2. I call another vendor, he tells me his switch is $20. How can one be 10 times the cost of the other? Isn't a switch just a switch? It's the simplest electrical device there is. It's a fact that a switch is the simplest electrical device there is. It's not a fact that a switch is just a switch. The cheaper switch, we may have no idea who made it, where it was made, if it's ever been engineered to any industry standard, or if it's ever been tested by any independent laboratory to assure you and me it's going to work every time. The $20 switch, on the other hand, we know who made it. This company makes millions of switches, and they've been doing it for a long time. They start shipping out bad switches tomorrow, they've got big problems. This switch is engineered to surpass all industry standards. It's been tested by Underwriters Laboratories and rated to 50 million operations before failure. This switch is going to work. The truth is, that little switch could be all that stands between you and a personal tragedy. Same deal with a motion sensor. I can buy them from one manufacturer for $15 a piece. Another manufacturer wants $300 a piece for his, 20 times the cost. What's the difference? With a cheap one, a pencil rolls off the table in the middle of the night, you're going to get an alarm. The better one understands this is not an event I need to respond to. Conversely, if there is a real event, a break-in, the better motion sensor is far more reliable to respond every single time to that event. So although we'd like to, we really can't escape the basic economic principle that you get what you pay for. By the way, whose switches and motion sensors do you think are being used in those $99 systems? Unlike Ollie North, you probably don't need the most expensive stuff out there. A middle range of product that provides a very high assurance of reliability and is easy to use will represent a good value to you. Question number 9 to ask the person coming out to sell you a security system. Is this the system you have in your home? And why not try this one? What system does the president of your company have in their home? If the salesperson and the president of their company really believe in what they're recommending to you, that's what they should have in their home. Don't you agree?